To MLB Now, we are the show for the thinking fan, and a Cubs theme today. Well, Chris Bryant into the shredder. We'll hear from Jed Hoyer, new president of baseball operations for the Chicago Cubs. I'm Brian Kenny. Adnan Burke is our guest. So is Dave Valley, even though he's here all the time. Ted Burke is our special guest. Ted, great to have you back on the show.
Feels very special.
So, well, make it more special. Let me start with you. Real challenges for Jed Hoyer. We heard from him. We'll hear from him again. Your quick thoughts on where the Cubs are and where they should be.
You know, there's something to be said for the notion of a rebuild. We saw the reason the Cubs became successful in the first place in 2016 was that they built from within, that they invested in the farm season and in the farm system. And we've seen it again and again, how well this works out, you know, stripping down and focusing on youth. And I'm done with it. I'm done with austerity. You're the Chicago Cubs. There's no team in that division that looks like a powerhouse. You've got 7 of your 8 top contributors from a division-winning 2020 team coming back next year. Go for it. I say go for it. I'm done with the rebuilds. You can win. They can win, and they should try.
Okay, it's a good point. In the division, right, Cardinals, Brewers, right, Reds got better, but nobody's a powerhouse like if you had the Dodgers sitting there going, we're not beating those guys next year. That's not the case.
BK, this is a club that underperformed almost on every single level, and yet they still won the division because the division is so weak. But there's too many star players on this team to think about shredding it down and rebuilding. I look at this team, they were 21st in weighted runs created plus, they were 21st in OPS plus, and they still won. This is a team, I think you're going to have to look at a trade to be able to fill some of those holes that they have in starting rotation. Their bullpen needs some good pieces there. But I can't see Chicago, after tasting winning over the last 5 years, to go, nah, let's tear it down and start losing.
But here's the issue, Adnan. Here, take a look at the contract year players for the Chicago Cubs. It's Chris Bryant, Anthony Rizzo, Javi Baez, and also Kyle Schwarber. I mean, those are foundation pieces, all 4 going into the final year of their contract, and then they walk.
The Yankees famously had their core 4. This is the core 4 for the Cubs. If there's any doubt how smart Theo Epstein is, here's your answer. He couldn't extend any of these guys. He's going into the final year of his deal. He knows that ownership is skittish to spend big money as much as Ted and Dave would like to see it. He knows the Cubs are not going to spend big money. He goes, you know what? I'll just leave now. Final year of my deal. Hey, you keep your $10 million. Hey, Jed Hoyer, it's all yours, buddy. Good luck to you. Put your chips to the table. They're not going to keep all 4. They're probably, I think, going to keep maybe 2 of the 4 tops. And you have to make a decision now. It's Bryant or Baez. That's your first decision. Schwarber, do you keep him if there's universal DH? And then all of a sudden, what's going to happen to the guy like Wilson Contreras, who's up in a year as well? This is a serious time now for the Cubs. Big-time decisions. Do you keep all 4 and take one run at the can? Or do you accept the fact you're probably not going to win the World Series next year, and let's start to retool on the fly?
You know, interesting that, and plus the White Sox are just started to emerge. You know, you want to own your city as well. Of course, there's a lot of things happening across the country still with COVID-19, as far as revenues, as far as fans, what's going to happen next year. Here's Jed Hoyer again being introduced earlier today.
No matter the success you've had in the past, no matter the success you're having right now, organizations must constantly push to think differently. There's always new technologies, new training methods, and new ways to measure performance. I promise you that with me in this role, we will continue to push, we will continue to evolve, and we will continue to advance. That relentless drive is what I promise every Cubs fan every day. We faced a fascinating challenge when we got here 9 years ago. Then, after building up the farm system, we faced another challenge to go from rebuilding to contention. And now we face a new challenge imposed by the reality of our players' service time and the realities of our world in 2020. As with all the challenges we have faced here, we will study them, we will use our collective experience, and then we will move boldly to do what is in the best interest of the franchise.
You know, point out that, again, he did, 8-9 years with Theo, the Red Sox, and then went to Chicago. And this was the general manager of that World Series championship team. And now he takes over. And it is a seamless transition now. He talked about the baseball ops department. He mentioned that the size of front offices now, it's vastly different than when he was a GM with the Padres, the job he had just before coming to the Cubs. But that whole baseball ops machine, and it's a machine, that's still intact. Only Theo Epstein is gone.
And Theo's made it clear to the fact that, listen, maybe he's just not a guy who likes maintaining. He's more a fan of coming in and rebuilding. So for Jed Hoyer, this is a situation where, hey, we're not going to tank. We're not going to go back and stink for a few years and then replenish. We're going to have to be good on the fly and try to make things happen. So you have a great scouting department, but that whatever advantage they may have had with analytics, whatever they have done with Boston, other teams have caught up now. Now Andrew Friedman is at the elite level of the Dodgers. The Rays are at the elite level. Nobody's saying, hey, that Cubs front office, they're doing something that nobody else is doing. So you got to figure out some other ways to kind of get an edge right now.
Can they hang with, and again, we're talking at the very top. It looks like Red Sox have plummeted. Astros have taken a step back. Yankees seem to be still there. Dodgers are the world champs, and they're the standard. Can the Cubs hang with that?
I think they can. With the new regional sports network, this is a major market city. Again, I just have a hard time believing that in Chicago, after winning, and your fan base has been excited to be able to pull back and just redo everything. But they have to understand, they got to decide who they are. And I think that decision is going to come from Jed Hoyer and the Rickett family saying, which direction will we go? And then let's get after it. I do think I see trades coming, though, because I don't think they're going to sign all 4 of those guys. I don't think that's a reality. Guys come and go throughout the years, but who do you want to keep there to continue to build around and then add some pieces?
Quickly, if you could keep one, and it would take the money that
I want 2. I want 2. I'm Jed Hoyer. I'm fighting for 2. I want Rizzo. I think he's kind of the heart and soul, kind of the leader of that ball club. He traded for him twice. I see that long-term relationship there with Hoyer. And I'd like to see Baez. Baez is not a OPS plus guy of 59 that we saw this year. He is a young star player. He's a guy that when he's up at the plate, you just stop and you watch, and they need that type of player.
Ted, what would you do?
I mean, I love Baez, and I certainly understand the case for keeping the shortstop around even after the season he had. But to me, Chris Bryant is that franchise. I mean, he was the MVP in the season that broke the 108-year curse. He was the chosen one. He's almost the embodiment of the Cubs recently because he, 2015, 2016, it just looked like the sky's the limit for this guy. And he's still been really good. Outside of 2020, still been a really good player for the last few years, just as the Cubs have still been a very good team. It's just 2016 when they won, I think everybody was saying, okay, how many more in a row are they going to do? Because you look at how stacked that team was. I feel like Bryant's going to bounce back. He's definitely a better player than he was in 34 games this season. It seems like maybe it's an opportunity with how much uncertainty, and Hoyer talked about the uncertainty there is out there, where you can say to Chris Bryant, look, you're probably not going to get that $200 million, $300 million deal you once thought you did, but we could put out some guaranteed money. It's an opportunity to cement your legacy here, become a Chicago Cub for life, and still make a ton of money.
We'll put Chris Bryant through the shredder because it is tough to pinpoint exactly where he is. I mean, from the high peak that he was once at. Who would you keep? Who would you attack if you could keep one? Or Dave cheated and went for 2. Somebody had a vault of money back there.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I'm going to be ageist here because Baez is turning 27. So Rizzo, I love him, but he's turned 31. Bryant's into his age 29 season. Baez is 27. He strikes out too much. He's not enough of an OBP guy, that's true, but good power, makes contact, spectacular defensively, one of the great taggers in the game. I think 6 years, $100 million, I could get that deal done. I think Bryant's going to be north of 150. He wants 200 still. Too much money for me.
Right. Oh, good point. We'll have, again, Chris Bryant goes through the shredder. Coming up, what about Chris Bryant? Once one of the top stars in the game, will you invest in his future? We put Chris Bryant into the shredder.